Hello and welcome to the HR Like a Boss podcast. I'm your host, John Bernatovicz. I have embarked on a journey to get to know amazingly awesome HR and business professionals with the hope to find out what it takes to do HR like a boss. If you enjoy the show, please make sure that you subscribe and hit that 5-star rating. Hello again, it's John Bernatovicz, your host of the HR Like a Boss podcast. I can't tell you, I know I always say I'm super excited for the guests I have on the show. I'm going to tell you why I'm super excited to have Ben Geoghegan on the show, because not too long ago, he got the chance to interview me on his podcast. Now we're switching the tables, so to speak, and we got the mics all ready for it. So Ben, say hello to the HR Like a Boss community.
Well, hello indeed. Thank you very much, John. Nice to be here. And it's definitely more fun asking the questions than it is on the other side of the table, I have to say. But thank you for the invitation.
What is the purpose of human resources? How would you say that, Ben, after all your years of experience?
Wow. Great question. For me, HR is all about unlocking the potential of the business through the people and the people operations. So I used to be such a nerd. I used to love reading books about turnarounds and good to great and all these, classic business books. But I love the fact that so many businesses turned around and became incredible performing organizations, not by buying new equipment or changing the colors of the brands and stuff, but just reworking the way they leveraged the people and brought out what was just sitting there waiting to be tapped into. And I've seen that both through the books and stuff, but in real life, different businesses across the world. I've seen, even as an HR manager, going from different operation to operation to operation, some would be performing so well, same resources, same company brand, etc. But the way that the leaders, guided, facilitated the talents and brought out the best, encouraged, top performance. People who were not performing well, they had systems to help them get better and not just leave them lagging behind. So having the whole ecosystem. But I just think it's such a wonderful an opportunity for unlocking talent and performance.
What is that career pivot like for somebody going from a corporate HR role into starting a business in human resources?
Well, I'm seeing it more and more with the whole global pandemic, and it sort of reshaped people's thinking. I would always start, if I was an HR professional, I would always start by getting in touch with the people at Willery, because they are the people who know what's going on, finger on the pulse, and am I in the right role? Are there different opportunities? If you are thinking, no, I want to do something different, then I don't know. Does Willery do interims for the HR and payroll sector? I don't know that.
Of course we do. And you're a pro at this, Ben. This is like a professional. Now I got to give you a plug for, if you're thinking about potentially starting an HR business, making that pivot, you got to call Ben. So here we go.
This is the dance. Yeah. So if you look in the interim stuff, honestly, and the reason I mentioned that, I joke, but that was the way I did I sort of gradually stepped into launching my own HR consulting business. So what a lot of business people do when they leave the HR world and start their own business is they put one foot outside, and that might be through an interim role or part-time role, and often that can be found through a company like Willery, where you've got an HR expertise and they've got the contacts and can leverage in. So that's one way to do it. But if you're actually looking at starting an HR business yourself and just going out full time, that sort of thing, then I usually use a sort of a 5-step growth model. And I base that around the who, what, and where. So the who is, who's your target market? So rather than just trying to be all things to all people, perhaps you could play to your strengths by an industry you've worked in all your career, or something you know about, or particular problems such as seasonal work or employee turnover, or high performers or executive coaching. Trying to work out who your target market is, what the main issues are for them. And then it's the what are the actual services and the way you're going to structure and price those sort of services. And then the where is, where do you find those people? That's the marketing side. Which methods of marketing will you use to get them? And then finally, the how and the when. So the how is, how do you actually structure your business? Do you have a team? What's the sales process? Things like that. And the when is the timing and the momentum, and actually trying to build up ahead of steam. And once things are working well, then how can you scale that and turn that into maybe a sellable asset, or a more predictable, scalable business?
I wonder, Ben, with all the companies you're supporting, the one-off, one-person HR consulting firm to the large HR tech providers. What innovations are you seeing in HR technology, and what kind of impact do you think it's going to have on the HR profession?
Yeah, it's funny that when we were talking earlier about what does HR do and the impact on the business. So for me, I just had a little flashback to one of my first HR manager job in a manufacturing business, large company, but they didn't really know what to teach their employees and how to train them up and how to help people other than safety training and don't do this and do that. And so what we did is we started to talk to all the different high performers, let's say, in the different departments and, steel workers, stuff like that. And then what we got them to do is start recording data on when they push this button and when did they make this adjustment. And then we turned that into a database, simple old Microsoft Access database, and started to track the data. And then we fed that back into shift reports and stuff. And this is all through some guy in the quality department who knew how to set up Access databases and things. But for me, that was a first example of how you could use data to create an HR outcome. And that meant better quality or better production, yield and output. So you bring that through to now. Just last week or the week before, I ran a session on how to use ChatGPT and AI in both HR consulting and then for HR roles. And I think maybe that could be a turning point to the issue around people in HR not being clued up, because it's just everywhere now. This AI phenomenon has, a bit like the pandemic, it's changed people's ideas about remote work and is it possible and hybrid work. And I think this ChatGPT and AI is making people sit up and take notice to the extent that I think people are starting to realize that if I don't learn this stuff and start engaging with it, I could get left behind, because they're starting to see the numbers of even, lawyers are at risk with AI being able to do some jobs, and doctors now, they look at charts that are being scanned first by AI that tells them the different areas to look at. And HR, will be next. If we don't look at how we can use technology to analyze either, I don't know, productivity or engagement levels and things like that and do it in a smart way, then, private equity sweeps in, buys the company and says, all right, we're just going to put some AI in there now. Unless you've been at the forefront of it and thinking about how can you leverage technology and it's all different forms. So it's a tough one. I think you're right. Within the field, it's been probably slower to engage and stuff, but I'm hoping that we've turned the corner.
How would you describe someone that does HR like a boss?
Someone who does HR like a boss, to me, has a vision of what they want to achieve for their function and for the business. And then they set goals to that. They apply data and a system to track how they're going with that. And then they implement systems and processes and encourage the people to do their absolute best, supporting them by opening the doors for them, providing those resources, guidance and advice. And with all those things in line, people enjoy it, get into the state of flow, the business performs better, and you've got a business and a workplace to be proud of.
Awesome job, Ben. I had a great time having you on the show. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself.
Definitely. Thank you, John.
And you survived being on the other side of the mic. You did just fine.
You were great. Thank you very much.
Thanks for checking out the HR Like a Boss podcast. If it resonates with you, please leave a rating and review, or better yet, subscribe and share with a friend. Until next time, let's continue to aspire to do amazingly awesome HR.